people think about the James Beard Foundation, the policy landscape, the sustainability landscape is not the first thing that comes to mind. We have historically been known, of course, for excellence in the chef and restaurant world and delicious gastronomy and really celebrating food and what is American food. But the things that lie behind that curtain in terms of what makes up our food system is not what always came to mind for the James Beard Foundation. But we had the growing realization really back in 2011, 2012, that the food landscape in America has changed. And with that, the role of chefs and restaurants and the broader culinary community has also changed drastically. I think we can all agree with the rise of food television and food media. The desire for the chef community in this country is higher than it ever has been before. And with that, we saw an opportunity.
My name is Chris Scott. I'm the chef at Butterfun Kitchen, located here in Brooklyn, New York. I'm usually down here by 8-ish, and then I'm down here pretty much all the way until at least 11, 12 o'clock at night. It's not as glamorous as one might think. You wake up, you begin your prep. You put out fires, you cover for people who have called out, you deal with purveyors who aren't coming, you fix equipment that's broken, you put on your face and you smile at the guests, then you pack up, you clean up, and then you do it all over again the next day. We've been around for about 2 years now, and we are a heritage soul food restaurant.
I'm Chef Kwame Williams at Vital Restaurant, 387 Bloomfield Ave, Montclair, New Jersey. So at Vital we have what we call New Caribbean. It's a Jamaican themed restaurant that is just like the Jamaican culture. It's a melting pot. So here, regardless of whether you're vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, paleo, there's more than one item on the menu for you with that Caribbean flair.
Chefs are incredibly trusted individuals when it comes to food and nutrition. Consumers don't realize that they inherently put all of this trust in the restaurant industry when you go out to eat. You trust that you're not going to get sick. You trust that they're not going to kill you by serving you bad food.
Things have been fantastic, since we opened up 2 years ago. We just recently came up on our second anniversary, April 2nd. And things have been wonderful. We got one of the top 10 best restaurants in Brooklyn by Brooklyn Magazine. We got an excellent write-up in the New York Times. Various African American publications have written about us, and then most recently I finished in the top 5 on Top Chef.
Top Chef, and we're making pepper pot shrimp.
Which brought a lot of national press to us and to the restaurant and to the culture. What we do here, like I said, is heritage soul food, so it goes beyond what a lot of people think of as fried chicken. I mean, yes, there's fried chicken and everything on the menu, but this type of cuisine goes much deeper than just fried chicken, grits, ribs, and watermelon. A lot of people, when they think of soul food, especially in the North, they think of like sweet chick and root and bone, which is good. It's Southern food, but I try to tell a story with the type of cuisine that we do, and try to really bring attention to Southern agriculture and the things that were grown and the regions of the South, because the type of soul food that you might have in Virginia is different from the soul food that you might get in the panhandle of Florida, or even in North Carolina, or even Texas. So all of those areas create that regional soul food kind of feel. Again, that goes way beyond chicken and waffles and anything that's red velvet. A lot of savory chefs don't even mess with sweets for whatever reason, but I enjoy having that skill level in both, to where you can kind of create a balance in flavors and a balance of diverse cuisine through desserts. For example, one would never think that you can take a tomato or a piece of fennel or even an eggplant and turn that into something that is dessert-like, but it can be done, and that's what I mean by the diversity of food, or the diversity of ingredients that can be used in order to make a dessert.
Monday morning, turning that light bulb on for the chef community, and then doing a bit of a dive into, this is how food policy is made, changed, etc. These are the policy 101 conversation. And so that's Monday morning, and then Monday afternoon we really dive into, what does advocacy mean? What does it mean to be an advocate? And how do you do that? How do you leverage your reach on social media? How do you decide to go and do a morning show appearance, and instead of just produce a great recipe, choose a recipe that has a mission behind it, and do a sustainable seafood recipe of a species that no one's ever seen, or talk about how you don't create waste when you cook in your kitchen? How do you leverage those opportunities for education beyond just delicious cooking?
Beer Foundation is something all chefs, in my opinion, hold in high regards. It's basically, it's been known for giving out awards and recognizing chefs of high caliber for several years now. I believe going on over 20, 30 years. And I got involved with the James Beard Foundation from a policy boot camp. So it was basically a boot camp that I went to, and they trained us on how to talk to politicians, how to make changes locally, and how to think about the big picture of what we want the food industry to look like long term. And it's definitely something that's impacted me as a chef. It's changed the way I looked at just being a chef. It's changed what I believe my impact can be. And they've been supportive in many things that I've done after, and continue to strive for us to continue to keep doing things and make changes and spearhead new areas in the field.
Back in 1994 was my very first time going to the James Beard House and cooking a dinner there. And although I've been back numerous times, there's nothing like that first time. Just reading about all the chefs that were there before me, and historically, it's just one of the most, it's the mecca of like food and chefs here in the U.S. So when I went there as a young cook and I worked with big chefs, I was just a helper that day. And things went so well that I remember sitting in the back seat driving back to Philadelphia, and the tears were just flowing down my face, just with so much emotion that I was a part of that at that moment. And although going back, it's still very big, and it's still just as important. But there's nothing about that first time. It's kind of like when they talk about when Jordan won his first ring, and he even says it. He goes, I appreciate all the rings I have, but it's not like that first one, And that's kind of how I feel about the James Beard Foundation when I went there back in '94.
We announced the impact programs about a year and a half ago. one of the big shifts that was blessed by our board was to start to develop an opinion on a few key issue areas. And that's really because when we started to look at the impact programs and the power of the James Beard Foundation and the chef community that we work with, it's really hard to create change if you don't stand for anything. If you don't have a perspective, what are you going to do?
I mean, inspiration comes from so many different places. My grandmother cooked when I was young in the kitchen. Growing up, you know, I would always work in restaurants and always be around food, you know, so seeing that and just, you know, having so much food influence has been inspiring. You know, even today, you know, a walk through the park could be inspiring. You know, hearing the crunch of the leaves beneath your feet, smelling the autumn air, you know, smelling the fireplace, the fresh pine from the trees would immediately make you think of roasting meats, you know, or like a rosemary scent, you know, or something like that. You know, so inspiration comes from all over the place. The people that are behind me, I mean, it's 7 generations of blood family, you know, all the way back from slavery all the way down to my children, you know, and each of them has a story, and the food that I prepare here is the food that these guys raised me on and raised each other on. So it's such, you know, an important part to be sharing my family's heritage, my black culture, with all the people that come through these doors, you know.
Yes, I guess the first thing to say was just be passionate about cooking. Be passionate about cooking. Be willing to go into somewhere, put your head down, put your knife in your hand, and put in the work. Be strategic about where you're going to work. So pick out the places that you want to intern at, pick out the places that you want to work at, and make it make sense for you, right? So then if there's cultures that you want to learn about, or if there are techniques that you want to learn about, seek those places out to work.
Policy is a long game and it's slow moving, and I really hope that when we look toward the Farm Bill next year and what that Farm Bill will be when it's finally finalized, that we can point to something in that Farm Bill and say, look what this community did.